Welcome to the Orthodontic Pearls Podcast, where we share tips and tricks to better your clinic, business, and life. Today we have our honored guest, Dr. Akash Pandya, as we discuss orthodontic journeys, marketing pearls, work-life balance, and the all-orthodontist band, RELAPSE. And now your hosts of the podcast, Drs. Chris Teeters, Brian Anderson, and Andy Sarpadar.
All right, welcome back to the Orthodontic Pearls Podcast. In today's episode, I am joined by my co-hosts, as always, Dr. Chris Teeters and Dr. Brian Anderson. Say hi, guys. How are we doing today?
It's Friday.
Yeah.
Friday. Yes, it is. All right, and then in the studio with us, I say studio, our virtual studio, of course, we have with us Dr. Akash Pandya, and we're going to be delving into his multifaceted world of being an orthodontist, entrepreneur, performer, and a family man. From his journey in establishing Smile On Orthodontics to his dynamic role in the all-orthodontist band RELAPSE, Dr. Pandya shares insights into balancing professional excellence with personal passion. So how are we doing there today, Ak?
Doing awesome, man. I'm so excited to be here, chat with you guys. I was talking to you guys earlier and said, you guys are popping my podcast cherry, right?
I love that you said that, dude.
It's the first. It's the first, man. That's how you begin.
You're in the public eye so much. Is this really the first podcast that you've done?
It is, right? See, how awesome is that?
What about this carpool karaoke? I've seen that thing. Now that's your own show, correct?
That's my own little show. Yeah. We had some fun. I got a Jeep and love to sing. So we do a little chatting, a little singing, and have a good time, man.
That's awesome, man. Well, we're thrilled to have you on the show. We're going to be talking about a lot of topics today. I'd like to kick it off by just hearing about your orthodontic journey. So, tell us about your path into orthodontics and, the inception of Smile On Orthodontics.
For sure. So my dad immigrated to the U.S. in 1972, and he was a workaholic. So he always worked. He worked at Children's Hospital in Washington, D.C. So he was always on call. He'd take me with him. So I got to see, kids that were sick and just like in that healthcare environment. And that just got me interested in healthcare in general. And I always kind of had an artistic eye, and I was trying to figure out, okay, how can I combine that with healthcare? My sister went to medical school, and at the time I was applying and I was thinking about med school, and she's like, yeah, it's changed now. You got to try maybe something else. Like, what else could you do? So thinking about that, loving my, my love for art, I was like, how can I combine the two? Definitely a family man, so wanted to be able to have that time too. And I thought dentistry would be a great option for me. And so that's how I chose dentistry. And then I worked as an associate in Maryland. It was like there was 4 locations of the office, and then my house was like right dead center. So I was like, this is perfect.
That's nice.
It was my old orthodontist that I worked for, Dr. Lehman Stewart and Stephen Labby in Maryland. And so that was a great experience. I worked there for about 5 years as an associate. I wanted to become a partner, but that wasn't in the cards. And so I looked around for other positions and couldn't really find that right partnership. Partnerships they're tough. I would say it's kind of more challenging than a marriage, right? You gotta have the right, this similar, clinical skills and goals, ethical standards and personality. And I would always find like 2 out of 3, but never was able to get like all 3 of them. So finally I'm like, all right, I'm like 6-7 years in. What am I going to do? I got to do my own thing. So Sage, my wife, helped kind of like, you can do it. Let's do this. And so we ultimately were looking around in the Maryland, Virginia area. Just couldn't find anything that was the right fit. So she, loved the warmer weather, and she's like, what about Texas? And so we were comparing Virginia to Texas, and ultimately landed in Texas. And it's been great, man. We moved out here a little over 11 years ago. It started Smile On Orthodontics 10 years ago. We just celebrated our 10-year anniversary.
Congratulations.
Last October. Yeah, thanks, man. Appreciate it. So
you started up Smile On, is that correct?
We did start up Smile On from scratch. Yeah.
So, I did a startup as well. And it's one of, I said, dental school was tough, residency, maybe not so much. I think once you're in, you're kind of in. But getting into residency certainly was the hardest thing that I'd ever done up to that point. But then starting a practice from scratch with no real business experience or guidance was the most stressful and the hardest thing that I've ever done. How was that experience for you?
Yeah, I mean, definitely. You don't get much training at all. We had a couple little business classes at residency. I did that in University of Maryland. But yeah, you don't ever get that training on how to start a business from scratch. And so, I mean, I was fortunate that my wife, Sage, was definitely alongside me and helped me kind of through the whole process. But yeah, definitely a challenge. We wanted to, I talked to people that had their own offices and I said, hey, what would you do differently? If you could rewind and go back. And one of the things that some of them said was that I would own my space, as opposed to renting. And so I had to figure out, I'm like, okay, that makes a whole lot of sense. You're taking from one pocket and put in the other, right?
Yeah.
And so as opposed to paying rent, you're kind of stuck, when you start a practice, like, your plumbing costs, your cabinetry, all those things, you can't walk with that. So when you're renting a place, it's hard to do. So that's why I was like, we need to own. So I ended up getting an SBA loan, which is a process to get, but we were able to get that. And it was great. Now we own the land, we own the building, and we own the practice. So
this is something Chris and I talk about a lot. When I started up, I did not have that foresight. I just, plus it was the risk, I didn't know what I was doing. And I was like, I kind of didn't want to double down on the risk. I really wish I had now though, because I've been trying to buy my building for a few years and it's just like this back and forth. It's so much harder to do it once you're already in there. I know Chris had a similar experience. Chris, I know you've been like thinking, how are you going to juggle this? Because owning your real estate is just such a good business move. So, I mean, what's your experience been with that, Chris?
Man, well, ours was kind of sold from under us in a way. I was, 3 years out and didn't have the funds, and the whole building came up for sale. It was a multiplex on the corner. It's the only way to the interstate. Tens of thousands of cars pass by a day. It's, front row, everything was great. We had
amazing location and amazing build out too. I mean, you can't walk away from that. It's huge.
And it was sold for so little, especially looking back now. Man. It's probably double, triple now at the time. And, if I had known, we would have done everything we could, maybe go in with partners and buy the space. But
I would have partnered with you on that.
I'd have brought you in too. I think we've just gotten to know each other.
That's true. That's a shame.
Yeah. So now, and I talk about it. If we were to move and open up a space, which I love the idea, there's always the consideration of a backfilling competition, right? It's such a premium spot, it would sell instantly and be filled instantly. And if it's 10% of what you make, I'm kind of focused on the 90% right now, but it'd be nice to keep that 10%. It really would. But I think you just got to look at your demographic.
Absolutely. I had this discussion with Jamie Reynolds a little while ago, and this was actually several years ago. And I was telling him, maybe, my lease is coming up for renewal. Maybe I should move in order to own the building. And, he disillusioned me of that. He said, yeah, there's some fringe benefits of that, but don't make a real estate move at the expense of your business. If it's a business move to relocate, great, but don't sacrifice your business just in order to get an edge with the real estate, because while it is beneficial to own the spot that you occupy, it's only slightly less beneficial to just own another space that someone else occupies. You still get a lot of the tax benefits, the depreciation, the investment itself is still good. I mean, you can't do some of the, roundabout things like paying yourself above market rent and writing it off as passive income. But really that's a fringe benefit compared to what a good location is going to do for your bread and butter business. Yeah. You're shaking your head. Yes, Ak, is that your experience as well?
Location, right? I mean, you got to have the money location, but if you have the prime spot and then on top of that, you can own it.
Yes.
That's certainly a plus.
The Holy Grail.
But I certainly wouldn't sacrifice owning for the location. So there are definitely instances where renting just makes more sense. And so I'm not saying, you have to own, right? But for us, it worked out nicely. And I feel like we do have a pretty cool location. It was similar to Chris, where we have like 3 lanes in each direction, over 100,000 cars that drive by every single day.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool. pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the business strategy has to come first. I mean, it's a nice icing on the cake, but the cake is your location and your business. Speaking of location, Ak, you started up. I'm sure you did some demographics research. We get questions like this from newer doctors, especially in this environment where it's becoming increasingly hard to purchase a legacy practice. What advice would you give for someone who is looking to start up? Aside from owning the real estate, of course, I think we'd all agree with that. But what's your process?
I went around with like a real estate broker that drove us around to different locations. But I think there's services out there that will do specific demographic studies that will show you, like what's the mean income in the area, what's the population, how many kids, how many adults of this certain age range, and that sort of thing. I think you got to go to the professionals that know what they're doing and get that research, and they will be able to help you, I think, find the right space and location.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you guys think?
Well, I went to a consultant. I've never done a startup, but I was toying with doing a startup before I entered my practice with a partner, because that was my plan. I was like, okay, well, if I'm not going to partner with somebody, then I'm going to do a startup. Mm-hmm. And I hired Jill Allen. She was great to work with. I had a commercial realtor, had, a loan from Bank of America to do the startup. So I had everything in place, and then things ended up working out with my partnership, which, I'm grateful for. And it was great to go into a practice with systems in place and, cash flow and kind of turnkey in that way. Of course, I think there's this trade-off between stepping into something and stepping into systems that are already in place and not having the chance to express who you are through your business and, express your creativity through how you structure things in terms of systems and that type of thing. So it's a trade-off for sure. And I think in some ways, of course, the grass is always greener, right?
Yeah.
Like I'm happy with the situation I'm in. I think financially it was better than I would have been if I had done a startup. At the same time, of course, there are certain things that you think, oh, if I were doing it solo, I would do this or I would do that. So as you mentioned, Ak, I think one of the benefits of a partnership, though, is you keep each other in check. I know that there can be struggles and there are also a lot of benefits, right? Like I'm going to be going to Europe in a week or two with my daughter, and then I'm going to go to Europe with my fiance this summer. And those things would be much more difficult if I weren't in a partnership situation. It would just be much, much more difficult. So that's a benefit. But, I think life is coming to terms with what your reality is and deciding, does this suit me? Mm-hmm. Or can I modify? Can I change in a way that I can suit the reality that is around me?
Right.
And if the answer is no, then you have to say, well, then I need to change my situation, right? But I think so often we can always find something that we wish would be different or wish would be better, this or that or the other, because as human beings, we love progress. We love learning. We love evolving, right? We're moving things forward. And so we're always going to find what's wrong or what we don't like about the current situation. Why? So if we could do it again, we can improve it, right? So I think part of that is just realizing like, okay, learn from those things that nag at us, like, oh, if I could do this or could do that differently, I'd do X, Y, Z. Those are good teachers. But in the end, I think a lot of life is just being happy with the choices you've made. And again, if you're not in a situation that you're happy with, then change your circumstance. But so often I think it's actually, we have to change what's inside so that we can better fit what's going on outside right now, rather than thinking, oh, I'm going to change my exterior. I'm going to change, outside. I'm going to buy a practice. I'm going to do a startup. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And you end up that you're the same person inside. It's like, there was a good quote. It's like, if you're fussed now, you'll be fussed then. Yeah. Like if you're fussed now, then even on a beach in Hawaii, you'll be fussing about something. It's too hot. It's too sandy. Your towel's not quite right. You don't have enough time to lay in you don't have enough time. I mean, you'll find something to fuss about. So in some ways, I think, I'm trying to learn the balance of like just being okay with what is and really evaluating, is this what I want to do with my life, right? And then if not, then you start moving things and making changes to go in the direction you want to go. So that's a long answer to your question, but there's no surprises there.
Anything less, Brian.
Exactly. Exactly.
One of the things you touched on, it reminds me of a Richard Rohr statement. I know you're a Richard Rohr guy, Brian. So Richard Rohr says when you are confronted with a predicament, you got three general options, and that is first you could fight it. So you could resist the situation, try to control or change it through force, anger, denial. But that typically leads to more conflict and then entrenchment in the ego. Your second option is you can flight from it. So you could avoid it, suppress it, or escape the difficulty. But this could look like numbing out or distraction or spiritual bypassing. And then finally, now this is the option he recommends, you could transform it. So face it consciously, holding the tension and allowing it to teach or change you. And this often involves surrender, patience, and grace, which is kind of what you're referring to, Brian. And Rohr refers to that as the Pascal mystery of life, death, and resurrection that transforms the soul. So I think that this is, and that third path is clearly what leads to real spiritual growth and freedom, which I think is what you're getting at. Is that right, Brian?
Exactly. The older I get, the more I realize that I think at the heart, everything is spiritual, like everything is conceptual. I mean, this all points towards something, right? This all points towards something. And I think if you break things down into, the simplest forms, you have to find meaning. You have to find meaning in what you're doing. And I think just knowing, hey, life has led me here. Life has led me here. Rather than me trying to change it by escaping it, or I'm going to do something, I'm going to exert some effect. I'm just going to allow life to happen and let life form me so I can adapt to life rather than me trying to change it, wield it, control it, distort it, make it fit just right. Because that's when we get so frustrated. It's like, well, things aren't fitting. They're not going like they quote unquote should.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's right. But gosh, I mean, expectations are what cause our unhappiness. We expect it should be this way, but it's not. So therefore, I'm mad about it. So I'm just learning a little bit more to just try and relax and let life happen. Be an agent, know that I can control my actions, I can control my thoughts, but beyond that,
happiness is expectations minus reality. And as my wife always says, that's the key to our marriage, is that she has very low expectations. So
I love Jenny, man.
She said she had that written down for the Mother's Day podcast, and she insisted that I sneak that in here somewhere because she forgot to say it. So I've mentioned that before, but it's worth repeating. So
haven't signed up for MOPC yet? Listen to this testimonial from the Braces guy, Dr. Grant Collins, on why you won't want to miss our 7th annual conference this October.
Oh man, if you don't come to the Mother of Pearls, you're going to miss an opportunity to connect with so many great people, learn a ton of great stuff. It's a very intimate, amazing session that we get to have with each other. I hope everybody gets to come out next year. It's going to be amazing next year too. We've got the educational side with lots of great speakers, great information, but also a fun side that is like coming together with friends, hanging out, doing fun things together. Not only in the conferences, but outside too. We're talking to each other about everything all the time. You really connect with people. It does feel like community. As far as the party goes, it's fun to get together. Getting an opportunity to play with the band Relapse was super fun. I mean, they bring such great energy. We all come and have a great time. I feel like a lot of the offices that work in orthodontics work really hard. So we come to learn, but we also come to have fun and connect with each other too. Next year's gonna be great. I mean, they're gonna have this in NASA, gonna have this in Florida. Like, I'm looking forward to it. I wouldn't miss that one at all. It really is a very unique conference. It's quickly growing to one of my favorites.
Register today as seats are limited and we sell out every year. Learn more by visiting orthodonticpearls.org on your computer or smartphone today.
Let's bring it back around to something that you guys are all an integral part of, and that's the Relapse band. So I think that everyone probably knows what Relapse is at this point, the all-orthodontic band. It's gone through some changes over the years. I know, Ak, you came in a little bit later to the group as the lead singer and dancer, along with your partner Doug Shaw. So, why don't you guys together just tell me the story? Try to keep it brief, but tell me the story of Relapse, and then specifically, Ak, how you got involved with it and what your experience has been since joining the band.
Yeah, on the history of Relapse, and then jump into when Ak has joined the front. But originally, when we started the first Mother of Pearls conference in 2018, we had no money and we had no space or anything like that. And for this meeting, we didn't have any entertainment, and so we figured, well, why don't we get a few of us together and just put on this show? And so we got together with Kyle Fagala, Cole Johnson, Brian, and I for the very first time. I was on bass at the time because we didn't have a bass player, and Cole was going to take guitar and sing at the same time. So we, filled in where we could, but we practiced our butts off. And, John Pham of Embrace at the time was skeptical, like, what's going on? We're literally setting up in the Embrace studio, plugging in with headphones, trying to practice. And you can't hear anything plugged in. So it just sounds awful. But we had practiced so much. We went up there and we played 7 songs. And at the end of it, we had this encore. Everyone was cheering for more. We played for maybe 200 people. And, I've played bands my whole life, never had an encore, nothing like this. People just would not stop with the energy. And so we're like, I don't know what to do. We don't have an encore song. So we just went back and played the first song again for those that showed up late. And, it was just 6 months later that we're headlining, this show at the AAO. And then I think a year later, we're playing in front of, 4,000 people at an Invisalign Summit. And and then so, midway through, Cole's got 8 kids and life's busy. And, he just focused on that. And then that opened up this opportunity. And, initially we were kind of bummed because, in a sense, he was like the Freddie Mercury. Everyone knew who he was. But then we saw on one of Kyle's episodes of TDO, Ak and Doug were dancing. And I was like, dude, Kyle, did you realize what's in front of us? They're amazing. Look at these guys. And he's like, I agree with you. Let's talk with them about it. And so that's when we made the call to you and Doug, and you guys were excited about it. So if you kind of want to take it from there, Ak.
Yeah, so Kyle did, with the digital orthodontist, they did the orthodontic double dare. And just like Chris said, Doug and I were on opposing teams, and we were going to do a dance off. And, it was in the room at the meeting, and, there was a live audience. Was it the
AAO?
I think it was AAO. I remember seeing that broadcast.
Was it?
And that was what year was that?
It was at the AAO, but you guys he rented out a room and they got slime everywhere and stuff. Yeah,
right.
Yeah. Was that around 2019, somewhere around there? 2018 maybe?
Probably 2021 maybe.
Oh, was it post-COVID? Okay,
post-COVID.
Oh man, my timeline is off.
Right. And so there's a live audience, and they're setting up and stuff. And so Doug and I decided, hey, let's get this crowd going. So we started doing the wave. We get the crowd all involved and into it. So I think these guys saw that. They're like, okay, I know they can dance. And they can entertain a crowd. I heard they can sing. So that's how we kind of got asked to be into the band. And that's how we got in. Our first show was the AAO in Miami. And the rest is history. It's been so much fun and super exciting to be a part of something that's so amazing. And these guys are like all super, super talented, both on stage and off. And they're just all so inspirational to me. I always say I'm the slacker with 3 kids. Everyone else in the band's got like 4 kids and different businesses they're running. And I'm just,
But who else can dance and sing like you?
Well, Ak, I will tell you this: as long as you guys keep me on the bite straight, boys, you will not be the slacker in the group. I can promise you that. Me with my 2 measly kids and my 1 business and whatever, but and my questionable dance skills. So, well, looking back on it, what are the standout moments that you guys remember? Was there one performance in particular that really resonated with you? Was there like a moment with your buddies, like a romance kind of moment or anything? Or of course, Jackie's in there too. I don't want to say that it's all guys, but tell me some standout moments, guys.
I think for me, definitely the House of Blues was just an amazing experience. The venue it's just perfect. It's built for concerts. So the sound was I feel like the best sound we've had. We had a full crowd that was fully engaged. That was definitely the best concert. We're sitting there, in the room to get ready, and we're just pinching ourselves are we actually in the House of Blues? If you look at the list of who has performed in the House of Blues, it goes back to James Brown, Aretha Franklin, Bruno Mars. you name anybody has performed on that stage, and to be included on that list, it was just super special. And we all are just super humbled with these opportunities that we get. It's very, very amazing.
Definitely.
That's awesome. What about you guys, Chris and Brian? Anything that stands out to you?
The shows are great, but a big part that we love about the Relapse shows is we all get together in a circle and we pray, and we kind of all, significant others and everyone just kind of, and you're in that too, Andy, when we're having Bite Stray Boys and all that, but we're praying together, we're feeling good. It feels like this group. And then people are cheering, we go out on stage. It's like that moment you can imagine as even when you're playing sports and you're rushing the field and everyone's cheering, you kind of get that feeling. But then really at that Invisalign Summit, we were, I think, playing for 4,000 people. Everyone there had never heard us before. And I've never seen it, but 4,000 people were on their feet the entire night. I didn't see a single person sitting down. And we're like, what is this? Is amazing. I think there's just something special about orthodontists playing for other orthodontists. And also we have really focused on shining the light on other orthodontists. Like we always bring in guests like you, Andy, and we had Dina Watt come up, and, he's not an orthodontist, but he's a great dancer, but pretty much everybody else has been an orthodontist, and Lauren Manfred and Estee Wang as dancers. And even like kids have gone on and done stuff. So it's been nice to really shine the light on other orthodontists versus, hey, we play and we do this, but it's really about showcasing
Trevor Nichols
all the talent out there.
Trevor Nichols is great. Maz Moshiri was in there too. He played the Invisalign Summit. And then also the Pearls in Grant. Yes. Chris Setta was up there.
That'll be good. Yeah, he played bass with us for a while.
Did you guys have Jacob Koch up there too? I remember seeing him on stage. Was he upstage? Yeah. No, he did the keyboards for another
keyboards. Yeah.
That's right.
Chris Bonebreak.
That's right.
Trumpet. Yeah.
Trumpet.
Right.
Yeah. Man, that's such a unique and enriching thing that you guys have going there. I'd love to see this continue for years to come. And then now your next performance is going to be at MOPC this year, right?
Yep. Our one and only show this year, but it'll be pretty awesome. We rented out that space exhibit, and we'll be there with a bunch of space-themed activities and dinner and food. The stage is actually under a huge space shuttle that they've somehow suspended in the air in this huge auditorium. So the sound is going to be out of this world, and all the visual accents will be too. So definitely something you should come check out this year, because it'll be our only show this year.
Can't wait, guys. Yeah, it's
probably have some special space songs.
Yes,
special space theme songs. We can't give it away yet, but it's gonna be good. It's gonna be good.
Nice. Awesome.
That may or may
I
not
can't
show
wait
up.
for that. Ox dancing right here. Again, not a video podcast, Ox, but he's doing the robot or something over there. I don't really know the dance moves, but we got to get cracking on this thing, man. We have to I know you guys can probably just learn these dance moves in an hour, but it takes me a good 6 months in order to memorize every movement. And even then I'm glad that we're going to be doing some space themed robot moves, because I feel like I could really nail the robotic moves, up and down. Yeah. That I can get. But yeah, I remember at the OP Summit on the cruise, Dino had choreography for, was it Kokomo?
Yeah.
Yes.
Kokomo. And there was this one move that for the life of me, I could not do it. It was that back roll. And I could see do you remember what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
It's sort of like a snaking motion. And I'm my back just doesn't move that way. And Ox getting frustrated. And he's like, no, man, you can lead with your head. And then he just it's like a wave. I'm I'm trying to wave. It's not moving that way. I don't know. I'm missing some vertebrae or something. But anyway, dude, we got to get cracking on this choreography. Otherwise, Dr. Sarpo is not going to look so hot up there.
You got to reach into that brown in you, Andy.
Is that what it is? Reach into the brown. Okay. We're going to leave that one alone in the interest of good taste here.
Or on the first show, you strip your shirt off, and I don't think it matters if you missed a move. All the staff members were pretty much not looking at your motion at that point.
Yeah, they were all looking at Trevor Nichols. Oh my gosh, one of the most humiliating moments of my life, and we all have to rip our shirts off, and I'm standing there next to Brian Anderson and Trevor Nichols. I don't think anyone was looking at me. So yeah, dude. But remember all the baby oil we were doing in the bathroom beforehand, Brian? Brian comes out with this big bottle of baby oil, which I'm do you just carry this around with you? Or I didn't see him leave at all to go shopping for this stuff, but he brings that in. He's like, yeah, man, I got us covered. So we're lathering each other up. Well, we were lathering ourselves up, not each other.
That was a Freudian slip there.
Yeah, well, maybe the way I remember it was a little bit of both, but pretty sure it was just our own hands on ourselves. But at any rate, that was a generous way of making it work for us. So Yeah, guys, good times. I'm looking forward to the next one this year.
Yeah, prepping for these shows. I mean, we start months and months before. You said 6 months. It's probably something like that. We come up with the songs well in advance, and then everyone asks us like, oh, how do you guys do that? How do you practice? You're in like 5 different states. And so, it's definitely a process to do that. Fortunately, Doug and I are both in Texas. So we'll spend I'll drive over for a weekend, and it's great because we get both of our families together. He's got a boat, so Saturday night we'll go on the boat, but we'll really, practice Friday, Saturday all day, Sunday till afternoon, and then head back. And so we'll do like 1 or 2 of those before each show. And then we have, stems that we listen in our ear. I never knew what people listen to, what the stars listen to in their ears, but that's super helpful to know, like, hey, when to come in and what the beat's like, so it keeps you on beat. So that's super helpful too.
Yeah, it's nice. We record all of our tracks independently, and so you've got a version that's got my guitar and Kyle's drums and Jackie's bass, and so when we play live, it's like you're playing with us the whole time. So you've been able to rehearse with us playing together, just like in different states in a way. So when we get together, we rehearse, for probably a good solid sometimes 6-7 hours. And then we always rehearse the day of during sound check up until the very moment. It seems to matter if we have 2 hours or we have 10 hours, we use every minute possible until it's time to go out there. But we do practice. I practice daily, every day. Part of my routine is to practice the guitar because, there's all these crazy solos. I mean, we're doing, Sweet Child of Mine, and we're doing, just crazy, crazy stuff that I can't get out there and just like, I've got to nail that solo, So we practice. Yeah, I'd probably say as soon as we finish one show, we're on to the next one, and every show is different. So there's always new songs. There's always new choreography. There's always new guitar solos. So every show is totally different. So if you've seen this before, definitely come back again because you're always in for a ton of surprises.
And you're doing that, you're playing that guitar every day while you're on the treadmill, right?
Four kids, you gotta
he's multitasking. I'm like, man.
I worked out at Chris's gym the other day. We were over there for our Mother's Day podcast. We recorded in person in the studio. And then we were all going out to dinner that night. And I was like, I'm either gonna have to take an Uber home and work out or just do it here. So, I worked out in that, I call it a gym, but it's more like a studio / gym. It's there's cords everywhere. And the treadmill, it's unrecognizable as a treadmill. It looks like a platform for music. There's headphones, there's wires, guitars, computers and everything. So yeah, it's very much what I would have expected based on all the reports.
Yeah, it's one of my greatest life hacks, guys, because if you think about it, we don't have to think about walking, right? That's subconscious. So why not while we're just walking on a hill?
Some of us do.
Practice guitar, Yeah. Hey Pearlers, check out this testimonial from Dr. Jacob Koch, a first-time attendee, on his experience at the MOPC and why you won't want to miss this year's MOPC at the Kennedy Space Center.
You're going to miss interacting with some amazing orthodontists, amazing team members, and amazing great vendors. You're going to miss experiencing just conversations outside of the lectures are really enlightening. I just had a great time. I actually have gone to a lot of vendor meetings that were put on with the product, and it was too much showcasing perfect, pretty cases. I'm not showing the real world. And so a meeting like this, it shows the real world. It's not a sales pitch. The company showing you all their best results and hiding all the garbage behind the scenes. It's just real. It's real. That's how I can describe it. It's like a real meeting where there's real people sharing real ideas and real experiences. I like genuine. I like when things are genuine and it's put on by very genuine people who genuinely want to make an amazing experience. So that's what makes it different. I've actually always wanted to come. This is the first time I've come, and I'm thinking, why the heck did I not come before? Because it's so many people that are like-minded like me. So it's been great to connect with them and connect and grow and learn and improve not just our practice, but our lives and everything we do. So I'm loving it.
Be sure to log on to orthodonticpearls.org today to register for one of our last remaining seats at the Mother of Pearls Conference this October 10th through 11th at the Kennedy Space Center. Register at orthodonticpearls.org today.
So I want to segue a little bit. So with Relapse, one of the things I've noticed is how involved all of your wives are in the process of getting this going, and I think no one exemplifies that more than Sejal Ak. So your wife, Sejal Pandya, Dr. Sejal, she is in the back just keeping people on track, getting the wardrobe ironed out. She's sort of like the little boss, behind the scenes there. I've noticed her keeping you on track. She comes up like, you can't wear that. That looks like, and I've seen you guys like actually get into some tense moments back there. And then like afterwards, you're just like, it's all cool.
Oh yeah.
But, I want to hear a little bit about her influence, obviously with Relapse, but with your practice as well. You said she's integral to that. Practice, family life, Relapse, all this stuff. You guys have a really interesting partnership there. You're clearly different personalities. For those of you who follow MBTI, Ak is an ESFP, which is the performer. Sage is the ESFJ, which is the console, or, a very, they're like party planners. They're socialites. They're making sure that everything runs. Very boots on the ground. So tell us a little bit about that dynamic and how it plays into your professional life as well as your personal life.
Oh yeah. So what you're saying, like behind the scenes, running everything, doing costumes for me, for Jackie, for Doug, it's like making sure everyone's got their shoes, their shirts, everything. She's got it down. And it's like, man, how do you get all those things together? Right? Like she's the planner. She's got a spreadsheet for everything.
Yeah.
Where I'm more, my personality is like more go with the flow. Yeah. Let's see what happens. So it helps to balance each other out, like not having the exact same personality, I think is great, because like we definitely, where she may, I rise and then vice versa. So for sure. I mean, she's helped me ground up from the start. She motivated me to even start my practice, and she worked literally every position in my practice. So she knew exactly what they did at the front desk, what they did, what the treatment coordinator does, what the financial coordinator does. So she had a great handle on each one of these roles in the office. So as we slowly grew, we could bring those people on. She could help train them and then step to a different role, which is great. And, ultimately, she stayed with me for about 8 years. And then I think just about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, she's fully stepped out of the practice. But
nice.
Basically, like a lot of the systems that we follow in the office are a lot that she's helped to create. So she's certainly played a very much integral role in the process of me and where the practice is today. And then, same thing at home. We have to, I work more hours, and she's now able to step back a little bit because our kids are 15, 12, 7. They all got their activities. And then the other thing that's super helpful is we actually have a family manager that is full-time.
A family manager.
A family manager, or, family assistant, personal assistant. I don't know what you call it. She does a little bit of everything, a little bit in the office as well as at home. And she's a lifesaver. Like right now, my wife is in Bali doing a 500-hour yoga teacher training. And I'm still working, my full schedule. And so it's like, how do you make that happen? Right.
How do you make that happen? I mean, like a family manager, that's a term I'm kind of unfamiliar with. Tell me, did you guys come up with that? Is that something that a lot of people do?
I don't know if some people may do it, or you could have an au pair, but au pair is going to have certain roles. And I think there's certain roles that they may or may not be able to do, and they're live-in. So, our personal assistant, our family manager, it kind of evolved. We started with maybe a 20-year-old that, helped us for drop-offs and pickups with the kids because we're still at work. But this and it slowly evolved because that after 1 year, they move on and they're doing something else. So now who we have, she's a mother herself. So she kind of gets it in a different way. She's almost reminding us of things that we might forget. And she's on it. It's amazing. And so definitely having her is an integral part of how we can function and do all the things that we're doing. So if you're at a point where you can do that, get the help when you need it. And, you find what you love to do and you keep doing that. If you don't love to do that, like Kyle Fagala says that all the time, I hate cutting the grass. I'm not going to cut the grass. That's an hour of time to go cut the grass. I could do it, but I could spend that hour doing something else. Right.
Absolutely.
Just finding what you love to do, finding what your wife loves to do or your partner loves to do. And then whatever you don't, figure out, okay, how are we going to do that? And I think you start off by listing everything and then write down roles for whoever. And then then you got to figure out the stuff you don't love to do. Who's going to manage that?
I love this topic of, focusing on the things that you want to do. I think that we all relate to that in some capacity. I think there's a tendency sometimes to just, instead of going through the process of delegating the stuff you don't want to do, to just kind of ignore it. So I really like what you've said about, not abdicating those things you don't like to do, but actually being systematic about making sure they get done without having to physically do it yourself. That's interesting. Did you have something to say on that, Chris?
I was just going to say, when I first started to practice, I was trying to do everything. And, I would even jump in and do chair adjustments. And I wanted the team to really like me and all that. And then next thing you know, I remember Nicole would be like, "Oh, Dr. Teeters, your 4:00 adjustment is here." And I'm like, "Oh gosh, what did I do?" And so I found that this is a huge thing for me when I learned the process of delegating. But there's some things I love to do. And there's some things only the doctor should do. Diagnosis and treatment planning, that first initial meeting with the patients. There's things that you can do really well, but even if you can do it, 90%, or you could do it 100%, somebody else could do it maybe 80%. If it gets it off your plate and it drains your energy, you've got to delegate that. Delegate it in your practice, delegate it in your home life. Like you said, a family manager, we have a nanny that comes in, but she also, now that the kids are in school, we still wanted to hire her. She kind of helps with my mother-in-law. She does our laundry. She cooks for the kids at night. The things that just take away so much time, where that frees up time where we can use that time to do things that either fulfill us or help grow our business. And I like the way you said, Ak, is you systematically write down all of those things that you do in a day. And you say, "I love doing this. This is something only a doctor can do. Okay, circle this one. I do not like doing laundry. Okay, who can I hire to do that? And, what can I assign and how can I do that?" I think this is a process everyone should go through because it is liberating. You're not just thinking about saving time, but you're saving energy, right? You got to give your energy to your kids and your wife and your 100 patients a day. You only have so much, and they got to go to the right places.
Yeah, we read that book, Traction by Gino Wickman. And
that just came up recently.
In the last podcast, yeah.
Oh,
the last podcast, right? Who said that?
Jordan.
That was Jordan Lamberton. Yeah.
Jordan. That's right. Yeah. Jordan mentioned that. Yeah.
So the entrepreneurial operating system, and that's really helped us, organize our office. But I'm like, we can use those same exact, tactics at home. Like, let's meet weekly. Let's do weekly check-ins. Let's do a monthly planning meeting. Let's do an annual planning meeting and let's figure out what we're doing this whole year. Plan out our vacations. Plan out the things we love. Idea. And so I think that's definitely important in how you can make it work. And now, do we have this amazing marriage all the time? Do we have challenges? Of course. And working with your significant other, I mean, it's definitely tough at times. It was definitely helpful because Sage ran the other things and I'm running the clinic. So she's not necessarily jumping on me about clinical treatment. So that was good. But yeah, I think that's definitely part of how to make it work and making it a little more systematic at home as well as in the office. For
those of you who are unfamiliar with this book, I just want to make a quick ChatGPT summary of this. Basically, this entrepreneurial operating system is what Gino is talking about. And it's a practical framework designed to help business leaders gain control, clarity, and traction in their organizations. 6 key components, including vision, people, data, issues, process, and finally traction, aiming to strengthen each one for long-term success. Wickman emphasizes the importance of defining and sharing a clear company vision so everyone is aligned and pulling in the same direction. Of course, we all understand that. And he also advocates for accountability through structured meetings, measurable goals, and the right people in the right seats. So 100%. This is something that's critically important. Chris, you and I have spoken about this. Brian, we've spoken about this too, because like I mentioned, there's this tendency to kind of abdicate responsibility. We've all done this. When there's something that we don't want to focus on. For me, for example, I hate insurance. I hate financials. I would rather, stick a nail through, pick your body part, than to have to do that myself. And to my detriment, I have just abdicated that in the past. I didn't have systems of accountability. I just hired someone who says they know how to do it, and I just ignored the whole thing. Now fast forward, I was, a couple $100,000 in the hole on uncollectible debt when Angie took over. Chris, she came from your office originally. Mm-hmm. And, the collection skyrocketed when she came into my practice because she was just fixing the mess. And one thing I've really tried to implement using systems from Michelle Shimon, for example, is this system of accountability. And, we all have these reports and, it feels tedious, but that's how we keep that accountability without having to micromanage.
Yeah.
And I know that's a challenge for me personally. Chris, I know it's a challenge for you too. We had these discussions. And Brian, I'd love to hear your input on this. For all of you, what recommendations or advice do you give to someone who needs to get more methodical about accountability for these things we don't want to do ourselves, but we still need to have some sort of oversight to make sure they're getting done properly? Who wants to start?
I will. I think that's where you need to have some kind of accountability partner. A lot of times people will do that with a consultant, because now they're saying, hey, I have a vision, I have goals, or at least a general idea of what I want or what direction I want to go. And I need you to help me know how to do that and push me to do it. Right. I think ultimately that's what a consultant's doing is holding your hand really a little bit and kind of pulling you out of your shell, pushing you to do things that you are capable of doing, but maybe you hold back, or maybe you struggle with, or maybe you would just, put off, right? Because we, oftentimes we have a tendency to avoid things that we don't want to do. Mm-hmm. And so if we can just shove it off into the corner, I'll get to that at some point, and it's never really manifested, then it's very comfortable just being in your subconscious. So, if there's one thing I can point out that I think is really interesting, there's something about taking something from formlessness, like an idea, and putting it into form. So putting it into words, first of all. Okay. So now it's just something that was floating up in your head, formless. And now you're putting it into form with words. There's something, but words are transient. I mean, you say it, and it goes with the flow of time, right? So that's a start. But once you put it in writing, you're now putting the formless into form in something that's more concrete. Mm-hmm. So now that idea in your head, yes, and now it's becoming more real. Now it's becoming more real because now it's something you can actually see, okay? Mm-hmm. So going from formless to form, okay, well, now what do you got to do to make that concrete? Well, maybe that's where a lot of people get lost, is they have this sheet of, here's my to-do list, but God, I suck at this. I'm bad at that. It takes me this emotional strength to get over the hurdle of the resistance, but I don't want to do that, right? It could be whatever thing. I mean, we all have those things that we just, Andy, you mentioned, financials. That would be something for me too.
I love money, but I hate managing it.
Right. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's like, even just like getting my mail. I hate just going through junk mail. I open it up. Most of it's junk. I'm like, it's so tedious. I hate doing that.
Right. You mentioned you had like a stack of mail, like 3 months deep. I do the same thing. I do the same thing.
Yeah. What I do is I grab my mail. I quickly sort through, is there anything important in here? And, okay. I pull those things out. And then if there's nothing important, the other stuff, it's not time sensitive. I'll get to it when I can. I hate that stuff.
Here's a free pearl for all you guys, is like, if you just throw the mail away, like the important stuff, they'll continue to follow up with you. Right. And eventually you'll get a phone call from an unknown number that you just ignore as well. They'll figure it out. Eventually, a process server will come and give you those papers.
Right. Exactly.
If it's important enough.
Exactly.
Right. What are your thoughts on this, Ak? How do you manage it? How do you keep that accountability for those things that you don't want to do?
Hire a family manager.
There you go.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, she actually does. She'll get our mail. And you can tell what's actual junk mail, right? So she can sort that in different piles. She'll still leave them there for me to check, but it's kind of already somewhat done, It's like, everyone's heard of the 10-80-10 principle, right? So she could take care of 80% of it. 10, You give her the 10, she's doing 80% of it, and then we're coming back for the last 10. And that saves you the time, right, to allow you to do these other things.
We were at a meeting a couple months ago, and this one is like 20 times the level of excitement of the meetings that we've gone to in the past. It's just a really fun meeting. It's a nice thing to do for staff just because it brings us all closer together, and they only know the energy inside my own office. And once we get all these peers all together, the energy level is just madness. I have some Gen Z staff, and they're really excited about meeting the braces guy. And overall, they're excited about the party and mechanical bull and the food. And it's really fun. And they go home really excited and ready to tackle on the day with brand new ideas and pearls and a lot of fun stories. I've been practicing for 18 years, and I'm definitely in need of some great pearls. And every lecture, I got 10 to 20 pearls from each one.
Be sure to log on to orthodonticpearls.org today to register for one of our last remaining seats at the Mother of Pearls Conference this October 10th through 11th at the Kennedy Space Center. Register at orthodonticpearls.org today.
Chris, what are your thoughts? And Chris, now you're one of the most structured people I know. So, first of all, is there anything that you delegate, or do you do everything?
No, I definitely delegate, and I've learned over time there's certain things that drain me, just like you said, Andy, going over timesheets and financials and all that. So I'll give you a concrete pearl that you can use. We have a quarterly meeting. We call it QC or Quality Circle, and each person in our practice is responsible for reporting on certain objective key results of the practice, or KPIs, basically. So our front office will report on the number of phone calls taken. So they'll say we answered, for example, 89.3% of calls that were made. They know that they got to report that number to me and the entire team. So they're going to grab that phone right away.
Right.
I have another front office person that reports on the number of patients in observation that don't have appointments, and the number of obs ready that don't have appointments, and any patients in active treatment that don't have appointments. So when they're not busy, I want them picking up that phone and calling. And if we see, let's say we had 50 patients that were obs ready that didn't have appointments, and they get that down to 10 or something, I'll throw out a random bonus. But it's not expected. If they do a tremendous job, we'll do it. But otherwise, they know that they're reporting both to me and to the team for accountability. And then we go to our financial coordinator. She tells me our past due patient, past due insurance, past due total. And I have this just on a spreadsheet. And so I'm just they're talking. I'm sitting here on a computer typing all this stuff up month to month in one spreadsheet in Google Docs. So she'll report on that, and we'll see if it went down from the previous month. And if it didn't, why? Right? Then my clinic lead will report on the number of comfort appointments. We don't call them emergencies. That's another thing. Don't call them emergencies. If patients hear emergency, they think it's an emergency. It's not. It's a comfort visit, right? So we had 79 comfort visits, 27 loose appliances, 15 poking wires, 6 appliances out. So you get an idea month to month. Then my TC reports on the number of starts for the month, number of starts for the year, how close we are to our annual goal, and their individual conversion rates. And we define conversion rate as those who I deem ready to start that start, not necessarily every person that comes in the office. I know some consultants feel differently. I feel strongly that I never want to push a patient into treatment. So if they're ready to start and they start them, that counts, right? Then I've got new patients. Our marketing coordinator reports on the number of new patients. Where did they come from? How many from pedo? How many from each individual dentist? And then, okay, these are the people we got to, send gifts to, thank yous, that kind of stuff, follow up with. Check in sterile, are all of our sterilization tests coming back? Do we pass them all? Another will talk about Google reviews. How many do we have currently? How many are new? Read a few of them so everyone feels good. And then our clinic lead will also talk about expenses. How much did we spend? Where did it go? What were our biggest bills? This much for clear aligners, this much for RPE keys, whatnot. So I think this way is a way that I can sit down and in 1 hour get the entire summary of the month. And I know that the team, since they have to report to me, I'm delegating it, but I'm not thinking about it until that meeting.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think that's a great automatic system of accountability. And I like what you said is they're not just accountable to you. So it's not just you always having to be the bad guy. They're accountable to each other. And I think that when you can create something like that, that's when it really becomes self-perpetuating. Well, guys, before we wrap up, I do want to go a little bit deeper. So, Ak, we've talked about your journey so far, but I want to hear about what's next for you. One of the topics we discuss on this podcast a lot is the second half of life idea. So we're all kind of at that age where, we've accomplished a lot of the goals that we initially set out to accomplish during that first half of life. And, we can kind of call it a midlife crisis, call it what you will, but we sort of kind of reevaluate our values going forward, reevaluate our purpose going forward. So Ak, you're obviously successful in business. You're well known in the profession. With those goals out of the way, what comes next for you, and how are your motivations and values maybe evolving?
That's a great question. You mentioned in the beginning that I'm a family man, and time, you don't get time back. You know, my daughter, her first daughter, is now 15. She's got her learner's permit. She's about to get a car. And I'm like counting, okay, how many days do I have? You can, break it down into days. Like I have 3 years left before she leaves the house, and she may never come back, right? She'll be off to college, and then who knows? Like my older sister, same thing. After high school, she was gone. I mean, she's going to come back to visit, obviously, but you can't get that time back. So it's like, how do I get that time to balance to be able to spend as much time with my kids as possible? I have a 12-year-old son and then a 7-year-old son as well. And so I have hired an associate to come in my practice, Dr. Bala. He's awesome. And he helps me out. He has his own office, but he comes into my office like 2 to 4 days a month. And that just gives me that a little bit of extra time to, spend with my family, take my kids to doctor's appointments. Because normally during the week, I can't do that. Right.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily growing my practice, but for me, it's worth that investment. And so it's time really that I'm trying to get. Also, you got to stay in shape. Things hurt that never hurt before. So, I mean, you guys are all super fit guys. And so you guys are inspirational to me, but it's like, yeah, you got to stay fit. I have some, back issues that I always try to figure out, posture, and, I'm doing more yoga and meditation, things like that, just to stay healthy, because you got to stay strong, mind, body, and spirit. And so I'm excited for Sage to be doing this yoga teacher training. So I think she's going to come back with a whole new vision. And hopefully she's got, business ideas, and hopefully this will spark that. And that'll be kind of our next chapter with her businesses and helping support her. So I'm excited about that. She has OMFG, which is, organic marketing.
I think I know what that means.
Feel goods.
Oh, okay. Got it.
You should just call it.
Not what you think.
Not what I thought it was.
But basically, she did a lot of the marketing and how we connected with our general dentist and referring dentists in the area. And I think we're kind of known in our community to do, we don't just bring donuts and cookies to them. We bring things that are like, I feel like very meaningful, that have purpose, that are kind of co-branded with us and them. And it makes them feel special. And I think that's important to think about, to get those connections. For us, like over 50% of my practice is from referring dentists. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And so for me, it's huge. And some people, it doesn't work that way. And then you have to look at other means, with social media and things like that. But for me, that's definitely a focus. And so her business is kind of that focus, helping different companies connect with their referring market. So
is she going to branch that into like orthodontics? Like, is she considered being a consultant for other practices, or having a service that you could maybe order remotely?
It's definitely been an idea, and she's got it all right there. It's all set up. So it's just a matter of when she comes back, what she wants to do with it. I think, she's got her name. Everybody, like a lot of people in the ortho industry know Sage, and not as my wife, but maybe as Ak is her husband.
I think most people know you as Sagel's husband.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think if she wants to do that, she's got a great opportunity, and I think she could definitely help out, a lot of people. But so,
I mean, I'm in for that. I would love to. Marketing is such a hard thing to outsource. Because it's got to be so intimate with your brand. And, a lot of the places you outsource to are just, no matter what you do, they can slap a sticker on there, but it still comes off as kind of generic. It would be really interesting to see a true marketing consultant who can do like individualized plans for offices. So yeah, I mean, I'm all for that. I would love to hear about that. Chris and Brian, second half of life. I know we discuss this all the time, so we don't need to go like into too much detail, but what are your second half of life values and goals?
For me, it's time with my family.
Time again, like there it is.
Ak alluded to it. It is time. Well, I think we all have a choice to make. It's either more money or less stress. And I think at some point later in your career, it's easier to make more money. It's a lot harder to reduce stress. And I think if there's anything I want to buy, it's time. I think everybody's like trying to get to that magic number so they can retire. And then they're not happy when they retire because they're older and they can't do as much. Why not take some of that now and invest in time, like going from 4 days to 3 days, or hiring an associate, or hiring help to do those things. So your available time and your energy is spent where it fulfills you and fulfills your family. I get to spend more time with my wife, with my kids. Blake's about ready to drive, and I felt like half of my life was in residency and getting my practice going, where I feel like I missed half of his life, other than just hanging out with him at night and like giving him a kiss goodnight. But now it's like, I want to take you out and you and I go do things together as father and son and as a family, and that's very fulfilling to me. And that's something that I talk to so many people that are super successful and they get to the end of their life, and what's the one thing they regret is that I was too focused on success and money and retirement and the next, and they didn't take a chance to meditate and to breathe and to travel and all those things. So for me, buying time to do the things that I love and grows me as a family is going to be my second half of life goal so far.
Seems like the first half of life we're trading time for money, and then in the second half we're trading money for time. Would you say that's pretty accurate?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I would say I realize the finite nature of energy and time. So a similar thing. It's interesting, even just over the last few years, the difference I've noticed in my energy levels. I used to feel like I had boundless energy. Like to me, it was almost infinite. Like I didn't like expending a certain amount of energy during the day wasn't that big of a deal because I always had plenty, right? Mm-hmm. But now, with a really busy clinical day, I just think that actually takes a lot out of me. That takes a lot out of me emotionally, mentally. Mm-hmm. And what effect does that have then on my interactions with my loved ones that night or that day or whatever? And you start to think about these things more. And frankly, because we have the luxury to, and I want to acknowledge that, and some of that's luck. And of course, some of that's hard work. And some of that's just, ending up in the right place. And it's all due to relationship, hearing you guys talking about your significant others, and especially focusing on Ak and Sage, how they've helped each other. Like we are where we are because of relationship. None of us arrived where we are solo. So it all happened because of relationship. So it's like, well, gosh, okay, well, if relationship is that important, what effect does my energy expenditure at work have on my relationships? Because my relationships are going to be what push me forward into the next phase of this life, right? That's ultimately all we have is those connections. And whether it's a relationship with your dog, it's like I'm more cognizant of that too. I think, gosh, I've got this dog, and like this dog needs quality time, just like a kid does, or just like anyone else does. And so you realize that you're important to a certain number of people. And who are you most important to? Well, your kids, your significant other, right? Okay. So you can't shortchange them on time because you are an influence in their lives, whether you want it or not. Of course, we all would say that we want it sometimes, and sometimes we feel like we don't, but it's our responsibility. And so we have to show up for people. We have to try and give our best self to those people we love. And that best self has limitations. There are always things that we have to do. That there's no optimal. And that's the other thing too, is you have to realize you can't escape it either. Like, well, maybe if I just quit my job and I have all this time, well, not so fast. Hold on just a second. That there's a dance. It's a dance. There's a balance you have to strike. And so I think I'm just more cognizant of that balance and what do I want and what impact do things have on me? Because now rather than me feeling like I'm, kind of just bursting through the world and I'm causing things or I'm affecting things. Now I realize, well, first of all, that was never fully true. But second of all, I realize how much things affect me now. I'm much more mindful of how does this affect me? Okay. And do I have the energy to resist those effects if they're negative? Yes or no? Well, maybe not. Well, if no, then I got to make a change in my life so I can manage this better, right? Or maybe you realize, well, you know what? Your mindset's important. How you see something ends up manifesting as reality. So I don't know. I guess I just say I'm much more mindful. I'm much more mindful now. And I realize that the resources that matter most are time and energy.
Yeah. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for the discussion today. It was a great one as always. We officially popped Doc Ak's cherry. So for podcast.
Yes.
Podcast. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun.
Well, thanks for joining us.
Thanks,
your story is a great example of how creativity, grit, and community can come together to build something truly special. From Smile On Orthodontics to Relapse to Carpool Karaoke, you've really shown us how to lead with both passion and purpose. And to our listeners out there, if you've enjoyed this episode, please make sure to subscribe to the Orthodontic Pearls podcast wherever you listen. Leave us a review and tell your friends in the ortho world. We've got more amazing guests and insights coming your way. And hey, are you looking to get your message in front of over 9,000 orthodontists across the globe? Whether you're a vendor, consultant, or innovator in the ortho space, consider sponsoring the Orthodontic Pearls podcast and Facebook group. We offer targeted exposure to one of the most engaged orthodontic communities out there. For pricing and availability, reach out to us at orthodonticpearls@gmail.com. Once again, that's orthodonticpearls@gmail.com. Spots are limited, so don't wait. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you all next time on the Orthodontic Pearls podcast.
Last year, we were fortunate enough to come as well, but I feel like that really set the bar high. And so then this year, I feel like everybody was super, super excited and thrilled to hear that we were going to be able to attend again. Like I said, the energy of this conference is just so lively. There's so much to do. Every detail is so thoroughly thought through that it's a blast. I was clinical. I kind of transitioned to admin. I feel like in every single lecture, no matter what team you're on, you can take something away from it. But then it's a perfect balance of we're here to learn and then also we're rewarded and get to do fun things. Especially at Collins, we all have really, really close bonds with each other. But I feel like this experience definitely allows us to make those relationships and bonds even stronger because here we get to have fun and really expand on those relationships. Dr. Collins always puts on a great show. At the clinic, we're so used to, our routines there, but it's fun to see him kind of just be able to let loose and just truly have a blast. Last year was USS Midway. This year was the house party at Dr. Teeters' house. And next year is at the US Space Center.
Be sure to log on to orthodonticpearls.org today to see our lineup of speakers and incredible events we have planned for you. We'll be partying under a space shuttle. It will be absolutely incredible with music from the world's only all-orthodontist band, RELAPSE. If you've seen RELAPSE before, you should definitely come back again because every show is different, and this show will be out of this world. Register at orthodonticpearls.org today.